Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope y'all are having a wonderful and warm Wednesday and a nice week so far. Welcome to Midnight Hatter Live, the weekly variety show where we talk Gundam gaming and Gunpla. I am Stephen Bayless, your host, also known as Midnight Hatter, and joining me as always, the Blue Gamer Gundam explainer, Adam Blue. How are you, man?
Doing good, doing good. And we were talking about this earlier, but yeah, the whole thing about staying warm because a lot of the United States got this crazy cold weather, and they had shut down school for the kids Monday and then Tuesday and then Wednesday, just because there was
Oh
just
man.
so much ice. So, and it's funny because I guess, left the house. I think it was like Tuesday to like go places. Some places were closed, but no, nearby, and like went to Kroger just to get some food because we are running out of supplies. But did
Yeah.
anything crazy happen for you during this?
Fortunately, no. I mean, we got the typical like snow. We were supposed to get more snow, like 12 inches or something like that, but it ended
Oh,
up
wow.
being like 3 or 4 inches. But then it was
No.
like 12 hours of just nothing but freezing rain. And so basically, what we've got is a 3 inch block of just sheet of ice. And so you walk out and it looks like snow, but then, I mean, like I'm 200 pounds and I'm walking on this ice and it's just like nothing is giving. Like it's
Dude, that's the same thing that's happening here. It's interesting. It's where it
crazy.
snowed, and then it was only 2 to 3 inches maybe. But
Yeah,
because of the ice and the way it was accumulating, like, there's these giant chunks of ice, yeah, and, um,
and
yeah,
and I don't think either of us have it nearly as bad as other folks. So, if
right.
you guys are,
Yeah.
struggling, then, please stay warm, please stay safe. If you are, you're probably not watching this because you are preserving your batteries and your Wi-Fi.
True, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I hope everyone's staying, yeah, warm, safe. Yeah, they had,
Um,
actually, this is kinda sad, but I guess I'll say it, some kids, and they were just wanting to have fun. They were teenagers. They were I guess someone was driving a truck and had a sled pulling them from behind, and
oof.
it turned a corner, they hit a curb and a tree, and apparently they passed away.
Oh, man.
I know, and
That was
it's just
local to you guys?
yeah, and they
That's
just wanted
wild.
to.
Dude, there was a toddler that was out on one of the like, the frozen ponds around here, like, literally in my home county, and it's been reported on, I think, in, like, People
Wow,
Magazine or something like that. Little toddler out on the ice and fell into the, like, frozen lake and, um, yeah, passed
wow.
away.
Oh,
So
man.
it's, it's a shame. I'm like,
Yeah, it's funny because
it really makes me
it's
sad.
sometimes exciting and fun because the weather is different, but at the end of the day, you gotta be safe.
Yeah, exactly. Um, oh, man. So prayers up, and I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves, taking care of your loved ones. Don't go doing anything reckless or silly. As fun as it might sound on paper, because
Right.
being pulled by a truck does kind of sound fun. But
Right, it does. Yeah.
um, in other news, this is like fresh news. This is just on discussing film over on X slash Twitter, whatever you guys want to call it these days. They did officially confirm that Netflix will be distributing the live action Gundam movie starring Sydney Sweeney and Noah
Yeah.
Centineo?
Centennial,
Mm,
yeah.
Centineo?
Which is it's interesting because it wasn't just a couple days ago, they announced another actor?
You're right,
D
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's been a series of actors that have been associated with it, or even just entertainers, because there was that, what's his name? The singer.
Oh, yeah, Benson Boone, and then
Yeah.
that kinda went away, yeah. And this other one, I feel bad, I forget the guy's name. I talked about it, I think, yesterday. Um, so it's just interesting, though. I think it's very coincidental that Nexus Point News had news about casting, and then the next day there's, "Oh, Netflix could be distributing," and what
Mhm.
makes sense about this is the relationship between Legendary and Netflix, Warner Brothers and Netflix, Legendary and Warner Brothers. Legendary used to be under Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers and Netflix could be having a deal right now, and to make it enticing is that Netflix
Yeah.
would put their films in theaters. So, to me, this is pointing to, okay, Gundam would be a good property that, Netflix is saying, "Go back to Legendary, hey, let us distribute it, we'll put it in theaters." I almost feel like that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, there's definitely a possibility of that. Netflix is probably looking for their next big sort of IP/franchise after the end of Stranger Things, which was kind of an underwhelming ending, across the board. Shout out in the chat to Ultronymous. He says, "I'd rather have 18 inches of snow than 3 inches of ice." Very true.
Yeah.
But, he and I were actually talking earlier today about Netflix and about, like, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were over on the Joe Rogan Experience talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
how Netflix imposes these rules on filmmakers, talking about, like, "Hey, you should reiterate plot points 3 to 4 times throughout the course of the film because people are typically gonna be on their phones and, like, they're gonna be
I know.
distracted, so they're not." And isn't it hilarious that, like, 2 years ago, when I was doing that whole dissecting Gundam series of videos, that was, like, the number one thing that I pointed out
Oh,
was
yeah.
people these days, you are fighting with 11 different things over your attention, and everyone is paying billions of dollars to try and pull your attention in 6 or 7 different ways so that they can sell you a product. And so when it comes to watching movies or films, like, yeah, you're not gonna be able to pay attention to them because you're divided.
Yeah.
And so I do think that the final product of the Gundam movie will suffer. I think that with the pull and the influence that Warner Brothers and Netflix have cumulatively, they will be able to distribute to more theaters, that the Gundam movie is gonna be in more homes sooner, but is the final product going to be worth the squeeze, so to speak?
I
Like,
I think in this case, because it's still Legendary is producing completely, and it's just Netflix is distributing. The difference so
I've
I
heard that
watched
story before though, because that was
well,
that was my same thing with Enola Holmes.
what, that it wasn't produced but you know what, I liked Enola Holmes.
Enola Holmes was okay. I think that,
Look,
what is it?
this
Jude Law and, Henry Cavill were good, but, like, man, I'm so sick of seeing Millie Bobby Brown and everything,
well,
and
I watched this Ben Affleck and Matt Damon movie, and it's not good.
oh, which one's that?
The one that they were promoting
That
on the
they were
Joe Rogan
promoting?
show on Netflix. So that almost kinda proves your
Oh, the
point.
cop one, or the
Yeah.
the Rip?
Yeah, it is completely it's like when we were talking about High Guard,
Yeah,
it's the High Guard of movies. It's like just this and I hate to say slop because people are saying it, but it's like you have it where you have the mercenary cops are just, like, hanging out
yep,
with the beer and the lawn chair, like, outside some building playing basketball, and then, like, the one of the guys comes up, "Okay, we gotta go on our mission." It's like and then, they have attitudes. It's like, this is the dumbest
"Oh, wait, who's that in the building down there? They're here to take away our money. Oh, man, oh," and
Yeah,
then
exactly. The whole thing where then there's yeah, that's right, because the whole thing is a money angle.
right, is
Yeah,
like they were trying to, like, steal money from
yeah, it's
criminals and,
a
like,
very tropey everything about like, it looks well made, it's well acted, it's well edited, everything about it is high quality production except for the story and the writing. It's really so it was funny because I saw them on Joe Rogan, and I'm a huge fan of filmmaking, so
yeah,
but I always held Matt Damon and Ben Affleck up in that privileged echelon, which, hey, they kinda deserved it or earned it through Good
yeah,
Will Hunting and all that. But rarely do I really see something from them specifically turn out awesome. Usually, if it's like Ben Affleck is like, "Okay, I'm working on this project," he's directing some or if it's Matt Damon, I'm gonna act in The Martian.
yeah.
But, um so anyway, I'm still a little more positive about the Gundam movie. I really think this speaks to more of Netflix saying, "Hey, we already have a relationship with Legendary. We're trying to get into theaters to get this WB buyout." Yeah.
To quote, or to paraphrase Deadpool, "It's an educated wish that it's gonna be a good
An
movie."
educated wish. I totally forgot. Did he say that in one of the movies?
Yeah, in the one with Wolverine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Educated wish. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
it
that.
was an educated wish. Um,
The only good thing that came out of that movie, except I do like the Wolverine action figure. So
oh, yeah. Well, and Wolverine, like, Hugh Jackman was just phenomenal in that movie, like, that whole speech in the car where he's just, "You
He
couldn't save a relationship with a stripper."
yeah, he it I feel like, as much as I loved Deadpool, like, as a character, the concept, like, this movie just did not do it, and I feel bad for Hugh Jackman because
Yeah.
he did Logan and then this. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
yeah. Well, there's, Midnight Hatter and Blue Gamer GE's movie talk of
Movie talk.
the week, which is fun. We like that movie talk, especially if you
Always.
heard Sam Raimi wanted to do Batman. Did you hear
I
about
would
that?
I would be into that,
Oh,
honestly.
yeah.
I
I would
man.
it would I think it would be almost parallel to the Tim Burton. I feel like they have this sort of similar darkness, but then there's this, like they have different edges to it.
There's a series of directors who you can pick their movies out without knowing that it was done by them.
Yeah,
It's like a Wes Anderson movie. Anytime you see a straight on,
yeah.
deadpan character saying like, "Oh, you want the roast beef? We're out of roast beef." Like, that's, like, the total, like, Wes Anderson thing. Tim
Yeah.
Burton, if it's got Helena Bonham Carter and it's, like, a little dark and
Oh,
quirky, that's Tim Burton. Same with Sam Raimi. Sam Raimi has these quirks that just make it a Sam Raimi film, and like
yep.
you said, I think that if he brought that to Batman, be
I
fantastic.
know. I know. And you know what would be a cool idea for Batman? And I kind of thought later, oh, this is kind of what Spawn did, but have it where in this Batman movie, his cape is always big and unlimited. You never see where it ends in any shot he's in. Like,
Yeah.
I think that would be a cool, like, artistic way
They
to go.
also did that in Wicked.
Did they do that in Wicked?
They kinda did, like, when, Cynthia Erivo puts on, like, the black witch's cloak, it's, like, all long and,
Oh, wow. It like takes up like
yeah,
a
it,
lot.
like, ends
Mm.
up being it's like its own sentient being, the way that it
Oh,
flows
interesting.
in the wind and things.
It's weird how there'll be these movies that don't look like I'd like them, but they have cool ideas, you know?
You gotta bring somebody in, you gotta use whatever tactics are at your disposal in order to attract people, and so,
Yeah,
um
that's neat.
but yeah, I was hoping to have a video out, earlier this week, but obviously the snow and things slowed me down a bit. So to give you guys the early heads up, the video that's gonna be dropping here shortly, not tonight, but, in the next couple of days, it is going to be my, theatrical analysis of The Witch from Mercury.
Oh,
I'm waffling between the title of 10 Things I Hate About the Witch from Mercury and Taming the Witch. What we're
mhm.
doing is it's a video essay talking about the Shakespeare play, The Taming of the Shrew, and its similarities to the romantic storyline of The Witch from Mercury. So it's a pretty fun, like, this has probably been the most fun I've had doing a voiceover for a video in a long time, and I'm putting a lot into the production of it. I'll post a photo of the editing, like the Premiere Pro screenshot, because it's like 16 layers of
Wow.
video and like effects that I'm putting in here. So I hope you guys are gonna like
Very
it.
cool. Yeah,
It's
man.
it's going to be the first of a long series of these types of video essays on Gundam properties. So
Oh, looking
yeah,
forward to it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Um, But tonight, what I wanna do is dive into some Unity stuff. It's only been like a week since we did, some of this sort of hobby stuff. But, it occurred to me that there's something that is really taken for granted by gamers. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to illustrate it for you guys so that you guys can appreciate what we're gonna be looking at. Um, okay, cool. It did load. So I did queue up a little scene here. You see, I've got a Gundam, I've got a Zaku. I put some stuff in the background just, for set decoration, but it's not really that important. So when you play a game, and maybe it's not like first person shooters, you really don't pay attention to this, but like fighting games in particular and third person action games, things like, my favorite series, Metal Gear Solid, you're going to have characters that interact with one another, and they're gonna have animations that interact with one another. And one of the things that people take for granted is the way that those animations interact with each other, because each character has their own animation, and so there are a couple of things that you have to do in order to make those animations line up with one another. So let's illustrate this just in the scene that I've got here. I'm going to hit play, and it's going to be kind of boring. It's just, they're going to be standing here. Look at those shadows, though. Like, this
Yeah,
actually looks
that
like
looks
a kind of
good.
decent game.
Yeah.
um, so what I want to do is let's select the Gundam, and I have a couple different animation samples that we can play with, but the one that we're going to be using here is a throwing animation, because I was like, and you probably saw it in the thumbnail, is like in the first episode of Gundam where he grabs the Zaku's face and then like
Oh,
throws it, right? That would be a difficult thing to animate in a video game, not necessarily because the animations themselves are difficult, but syncing up the animation of the Zaku being thrown and the Gundam doing the throwing, right? So, what I've done here is I've got a pretty basic animation controller. I've got some triggers set up. So what the Gundam is gonna be doing here is doing like a little hip toss, like a little Steven Seagal Aikido hip toss here. So I'm just gonna trigger it manually. We're gonna do this in script later, but this is what the animation is gonna look like. He runs over, does a little hip toss, stomps on the guy. Pretty cool, right?
yeah.
Now, the animation that goes with that, we're going to do this with the Zaku, is we're going to trigger this thrown animation. It's the animation of the character being thrown over and tossed over the hip. So the Zaku, oh no, oh, I got flipped over and stomped on. Very cool, right? Now, here's the problem. How do we bring these two things together, and how do we make sure that they're aligned perfectly? So, there's a couple things that we have to do, and when we hop into our script here, I'm gonna be using a little bit of AI, but it's only just because I wanna do this stuff quickly for you guys, and I've
Yeah.
already typed up a little prompt here, but ignore that. So, what we're gonna do, first, I'm gonna delete all the script in here. When the Gundam throws an enemy, we want a method, like a script, like a specific function that's like throw enemy, right? But there's a couple of things that we have to do prior to oh, hold on, let's see. What do I have to do for syntax? Oh yeah, I gotta put some parentheses. Parentheses. So there's a couple things that we have to do before we execute the actual throw animation. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a couple of extra methods, functions. So we'll do void snap rotation. Did I spell that right? Yeah, I did. Cool. I, I always worry about those typos when I'm doing this stuff live, because I'm like,
Yeah.
my brain is usually operating a little bit faster than my fingers.
Oh, I
Um,
know what you mean.
so there's a couple things we want to do. We want to snap rotation. We want to snap distance. And so when we do the throw enemy method, we're going to call those. So snap distance and snap rotation.
Okay.
And then only after that would we say animator set trigger. And again, we're going to have AI clean this up for me, because, I'm not confident enough in my own abilities here. So we're going to set trigger throw. So what this is going to do is what we want. The idea is we want to make sure that the enemy character is exactly where we want them to be, not too far, not too close, where they're clipping and all that stuff. And then we have to make sure that the character gets rotated to the correct angle. And this would be most obvious, like, if you were doing, like, a hostage type thing where, like, what if what if you had, like, a hostage animation where the villain, like, grabs the hostage, but the hostage is facing this way, and it's like, Don't I'm gonna shoot them." And it's like, "Well, but they're facing that way, they're not like."
Right.
So this is one of those things where in script, you have to make sure that you snap their rotation to the rotation of the character that's acting upon them. Um, and then similarly, like I said, you gotta make sure that they're close enough so that it's not like, how silly would it be if the arm was, like, behind the neck of the
Yeah,
person? So
I
there's gonna be
see.
a little bit of, there's gonna be a little bit of trial and error with this to make sure that we set the distance correctly. The rotation is actually the easiest part, believe it or not, because what we're gonna do is use the hit normal of the character as a reference. So the normal of a character is the direction that their front face goes, right? So
Mhm.
if you have that front facing direction, then you can calculate what direction you want the enemy to face. So if the throw is like face to face, you would set it equal to -1 times the normal because it would be facing them. Or if it was like the hostage situation, like I just mentioned, you would want it normal times 1 because then it's like front to back. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, man, the thought that it takes to nail I mean, it's nailing, what looks, what am I trying to say? Believable. For the game, when you're playing the game, it just needs to feel believable, and sometimes there's more work put into the smallest thing.
It really is, and that's why I'm like, man, people take this kind of thing for granted. It's you just expect them to just work, right? Like,
And when you were talking about that, yeah, that scene in the first episode where the RX-78 is grabbing onto that the piping of the Zaku 2 helmet, like in my mind, I was thinking video game wise, since you were talking that way, and I'm thinking like physics. What if it was more of like you're controlling the arm, and it's like it's almost like it latched on, and then
yeah,
not that that's what, but that's just an idea for a physics based mecha Gundam game where it's more of
100%.
like you know,
If it were like IK based, which you can do that, like that's actually there's a couple of different methods to initiating like a free climb system, and I think that
oh yeah, yeah.
Breath of the Wild uses like inverse kinematics for their climbing system specifically because and this is it would be much more difficult to try and calculate the distance that Link needed to be to the wall when he's climbing than it is to calculate the distance between his hand and the wall. And so what they do is they just set the IK location of his hand as the wall. And so no matter where he is on the wall, his hand is always going to adjust to the position
Yeah.
of the wall relative to his body. Um
And what did you call that? Could you say that again?
IK, which is short for inverse kinematics.
It's just an I and a K.
IK, yeah.
Hmm. That's and is this strictly a video game development term
It
or
is, yeah.
wow, okay.
So, this is funny because you and I were just talking about how, like, about how ChatGPT starts to get, like, more personalized to you the more you use
Yeah.
it, and here ChatGPT is saying, "Oh, hell yes, cinematic Gundam grapples, smiley face. This is classic nav mesh agent plus animation-driven interaction problem, and your instincts, snap distance, snap rotation, trigger animations are exactly right. Thank you, ChatGPT. I know that I'm something of a genius. I'm something of a scientist myself."
It's funny because I actually found that one I was telling you about because I was talking about how I'm trying to format my videos so that they could be watched for future generations, like
That's
and
very
it says, um that's very Gundam of you, by the way. Records of wars, pilots, and ideals preserved so the next generation can learn from them. You're basically making your own little Anaheim electronics archive, but with better vibes and fewer war crimes. I was like, that's
nice.
hilarious.
I'm glad that it's inherited some of your humor, which is great.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's
S so this actually is a much more and again, I pre-typed this prompt clearly. This is a lot that I put into it because there's a
yeah.
lot of stuff that I wanted to make sure that it gets accounted for. Um, and so we've got some core assumptions here. Both characters have a nav mesh agent attached to them. They do. Both characters have an animator. One character is tagged player, the other one's tagged enemy. The Gundam is player, the Zaku's enemy. The player is going to have a trigger collider. That's what we need to add on there to make sure that it's used as their grab range. And then the animation events or timeline will later handle the actual event, right? So it looks like it put together this perfect little Gundam throw C sharp script. It requires a nav mesh agent. It's a mono behavior. So we've got a snap distance of 1.2 float. We've got a rotation speed of 720. So I'm glad that this is one of those things that I would have had to tell an AI to do this later, but what
Mm,
it's actually doing now is it's doing something that's way further ahead than I would have thought, because
mm,
when we do this, there's 2 ways you can handle it, right? You can either immediately set the transform distance to the distance that you want it to be, in which case the enemy character is basically gonna teleport, and then they're gonna snap rotation, like,
mm.
in a single frame, they're gonna just spin around. Or you can use a slurp or a lerp, which are, um it's a spherical lerp and then a lerp, which are ways of interpolating, "Here's point A, and I want you to be at point B, and I want you to travel from point A to point B in" in this case, it would be, what? Snap distance is 1.2 frames. So in 1 frame, point 2 seconds, I want that distance to close. And then the rotation speed is going to be 720 what? I don't know what the actual unit of measure that is.
Yeah.
But obviously the higher the speed, the faster they're going to rotate.
Yeah.
Um, so what that means is that instead of it just being like a it's gonna be kind of more like a grab, pull, spin you around, and then execute the thing.
You
Um,
know, this reminds me a lot of, like, wrestling games, like N64
yeah,
wrestling games and up.
those were the
Yeah.
best.
I know. I know. But you would see a lot of that sort of animation occurring, where it's like
Yeah.
you pull off a certain move and then it would go through that motion and all that, yeah.
So
And
we're just
Tekken.
gonna paste
Tekken.
in the code that it gave us. It's probably gonna throw some errors, but we're gonna try it. Um, next level enhancements, optional, but very Gundam.
That's awesome.
So we have some apply root motion. Currently, I already have root motion applied to the characters. I don't know if it's gonna work or not, but we'll find out. So we're gonna trigger. We're gonna see how this works. First, we actually have to add those colliders. Um, so let's see what happens. Wow, no errors. That is a first. That is a
Wow.
first here on Midnight Hatter Live when an AI comes with a fully compiled script with no errors. Is this Windows 11? Maybe. So a couple things that we wanna do. We wanna make sure that we have a rigid body on one or more of so a couple of things when it comes to colliders as triggers. Um, when you're using colliders as triggers in Unity, one of them has to be a trigger and the other one has to be not a trigger. It has to be like a physical, like bump into you collider. And then at least one of them has to have a rigid body attached to it. Um, this is how rigid body projectiles work in video games. So like if you have a game that has like actual physical bullets that hit your character, the bullet has a trigger collider on it, whereas the character has a physical collider on it, because obviously when you're running into walls and stuff, you have a collider that you're running into walls, but the bullet is going to pass through that. And then once it passes through that, usually they destroy that game object, but that's the thing that triggers the damage, you know?
That makes sense. It's like making an event occur. pretty much.
Exactly. Very, very well, articulated. What I didn't catch is, do we need to make a sphere collider? So it says on trigger enter collider other. Doesn't say specifically what kind of collider. You know what? That makes it, I guess as long as we have any collider on it. Perfect. Because my favorite when it comes to characters is, oh, nope, nope, not a 2D. We want a capsule collider 3D. We're going to set this one as is trigger. So you see that in the description here.
Okay.
Um, so the height, let's go ahead and make it 1.5. We're gonna set this to 7.5, maybe, what, or 0.75. I don't see it though
On the what is supposed to
on the
show up
gun.
there?
Yeah, usually there's like the gizmo of the collider. I wonder if I have it hidden. Do, 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 do. Yep, capsule colliders are set to show. Yeah, I don't know why it's not showing, but I'm going to assume it's there. Unless otherwise. Radius 1? I don't know. I wonder if I just like raise the. Turn off the trigger? I don't know. Well, we can do it this way and just make sure that it's got everything it needs to be a success. We'll
Okay.
close our rigid body up, close our collider up. Let's go into our Zaku and make sure we add a collider here. Likewise, we are going to set it to a height of 2. We're going to set the Y to 1, and we're going to set the radius to 0.35. These are kind of numbers that I've used in the past that are relatively safe when it comes to characters. So let's see what happens if we run the game and see how it goes.
Okay.
Okay, so far nothing is happening. That's always pleasant. Uh the nav mesh agent is set up, so that's correct. But for whatever reason, they are not doing what we told them to do. So, if enemies null, throwing is return, up, speed is velocity magnitude. That's correct. So yeah, I'm just gonna walk through the. Oh,
What?
you know what would help is if I actually attached the script to the Gundam, because that's what it needs to have. Yeah,
Oh, okay, well.
that will do it.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd say that'd do it. Oh, okay.
Oh, whoa.
Okay. So we have the Gundam just yeeted the he just goes running
Just ran
out.
away.
It's like the Ultimate Warrior, just okay. So that's kind of exactly what we wanted to see.
Yeah,
However,
that's close.
I think that the animation settings in particular are what's messed up here. Because what's happening is you saw how the Gundam like lunged forward. I think that what we need to do is actually we're not going to turn off root motion, but what we're going to do is edit the animation itself. So for this
Okay.
shoulder throw, this is the animation for the shoulder throw, right? And you see how it kind of runs out of place and then does its thing. What we
Mhm.
should do, I think, and this is just a hypothesis, we're going to have the rotation built into the pose, but the location, the position is actually going to be fixed on the center of mass of the character. So that way it's relative to their current space. So let's do that.
Yeah, okay.
Likewise, we're gonna do the same thing to the XY position of the victim who is thrown. So if you see this animation, he's actually gonna be thrown from that position. You kinda see, like, how the arm gets pulled and then, like
Yeah.
so now that we've done that, we're gonna hit apply. These animations have been updated. Let's see what happens this time.
Okay.
Mm,
Oh,
ooh. So the timing of the animation is actually perfect because did you notice how the stomp came down and then the
yep.
Zaku's legs came up like, "Oh, man, you just crushed me."
That
Um,
is super close.
it's almost there. There's so something is happening where the Gundam is, like, jumping forward. So now
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do is let's try turning root motion off in the animator for both the Gundam and the Zaku and just see what happens. But otherwise, like, the rotation is being set correctly, like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's close.
Yeah, it is. It just seems like something. Oh,
Okay.
whoa. Oh.
Alright, so that's almost it. Like, the position is a little bit better, or the rotation is a little bit better. The
Yeah.
position is a little bit off still. So, hmm, so how are we gonna do this? Uh, let's hit play, and I wanna get to the point where we just wanna get to, like, right here when the Zaku this poor Zaku's about to get okay. So,
And then maybe you could screenshot this, give
I
it to
think
ChatGPT and say, "Hey, it's off."
exactly.
I mean, I don't
Um,
know.
so let's see here. Let's try screenshotting all of that. Because I think that I mean, you're spot on. It's like that's the Zaku needs to be, like, here and maybe even rotated a little bit, like, maybe the rotation's not spot on. So,
Mm.
like, is it more like this?
Oh, yeah, how it looks right there, that's cool.
Yeah. So then let's take a screenshot here. Well, I wanna get, like, a better one that's more, representative of where it should be. And obviously, there's, like, some clipping going on here. The
Yeah.
actually, you know what? It's kinda interesting because the way that the arm is being bent over the top of the head is actually kind of like, that is what it would look like.
Right, it's pretty cool how the animations look. It's, like, realistic, but only slightly exaggerated.
Yeah. Alright, so let's see what old Chat GPT thinks about this. We'll add photos and files, desktop. We want this and this. Oops. I did that thing again where I used the keyboard of my big
Oh,
computer instead of the
yeah.
one so I, like, switched scenes. Sorry about that, guys. Alright.
Okay. Yeah, one of the biggest things, especially when I have a lot of work and it's like if I just out of context give ChatGPT a lot of my work, it can just see it for what it is and say, "Oh, this is wrong."
Yeah,
And it's like, "Oh, okay, so it was just I forgot this or that," just very simple,
which
spot
is
check.
funny because, I mean, man, back in the day, one of my friend's sister-in-laws helped me when I had, like, PHP coded this entire website, and
Oh,
everything was working until launch day, and I could not figure out what I'd done wrong, and she went through and she was like, "Oh, well, you used a single quote here instead of a double quote, like, no big deal." Do you know how much faster ChatGPT would have caught that than and
yeah,
so it's like, man, shout out to her for saving my bacon on that freelance job that I did back then, because
absolutely.
nowadays it's like, man, I would have just asked ChatGPT.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
all right, let's see. Analyzing images. Yep, this is a great spot to be in. They are lining up. What's not is it's authoring space versus world space. If you don't want a generic forward snap, you want hand torso alignment. Um, okay, correct mental model is to put the enemy in front of the player, correct? Recommended values based on the screenshots is zero point 0.9 meters forward, 0 meters sideways, 0 meters vertical. Okay. So
And
instead of
that makes sense to you?
yeah, so basically what it did was it looked at those values in the transform location. So like
Mhm.
when yeah, it was like, "Oh, well, you basically you physically moved the Zaku 9 meters this direction." So that's what you have to do in script in order to make it work.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so instead of using snap distance, we're going to use a local offset. And then the rotation is going to be player forward equals enemy backward, which is the inverse normal, -1 times. So yeah, when you look at here, enemy rotation look equals quaternion look rotation negative transform forward. Quaternion's one of those like unity terms. So it's like
Oh,
it's a term like it stores the rotation data and like the direction that things are facing. So quaternion dot look rotation is the rotation that you're trying to set the object to. And in this case, it would be the transform forward, but negative of that. So turning
wow.
it around. Um, so let's see. So snap distance becomes snap position, which is a more accurate name. Okay. So let's grab snap distance and see where snap rotation is in our or snap position, sorry. So void snap distance looks like we're going to be replacing this chunk here, right? Yeah, vector 3 direction versus oh, I did it again.
Yeah, looks like it.
There we go. And then snap rotation, we're going to replace this bit. We'll see if this works. Never know.
Yeah.
But that's what like that this is the fun stuff about game
Yeah,
design to me anyway, is
and
like
see what it
fine
pulls off.
tuning.
Yeah. Alright.
All right, he goes.
Whoa.
Uh,
Wow.
still a little bit off, but
Yeah, but super
otherwise
close.
so if I pause it, the Zaku we really want to be like X. The X coordinate needs to be negative zero point 0.9, or is it? Yeah, negative zero point 0.9 to be on the other side of the Gundam. So let's try that. Snap distance. So I'm just gonna try putting this in here and see if it works.
Okay.
We're gonna do negative 0.9. 0.9. This will be an interesting test. I do like how smooth the animation has been though. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like things are just kind of snapping into place, which is exactly what I wanted to avoid.
Yeah, it's almost like triggering a pre-canned sequence.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh.
That's a little bit better, right? So let's try one more thing. I'm gonna apply root motion to the Zaku and see if the animation flipping over is going to make a difference. Uh, it's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Still not quite there. Oh man, so this is tough. Um, so I wonder. So there's two ways we can go with this. We can either continue to fine tune the numbers and dial in the sort of individual little, you know, the little nuances of it. The
Mhm.
the, the hazard with that, and I want to kind of illustrate this to you guys, is let's say, for instance, I'm just going to change the position and the rotation of the Gundam and the Zaku. And what I want to see is will actually, yeah, let's go ahead and turn him around 180 as well. What I want to see is if the direction that they're facing is different than the direction that they were facing, like in our test. If it's different, then will the script break entirely? Because it has to be relative to their current rotation. It can't be relevant to their original rotation because, if you're running around a map, you're not going to be facing the same direction all the time.
Yeah.
And Unity doesn't know that until like unless you specify it. So, if we do this, I'm interested to see how well this turns out.
Yeah.
Okay. So, not bad. That's a good sign because what I just learned from seeing that is that it doesn't matter what their initial direction is. It doesn't matter what their direction is when it like in the current worldview, all of their rotation is set to their current local rotation, which is good. That means that this script works the way we want it to. So we
Okay.
can continue to dial things in and just make sure that we fine tune the numbers and the distances correctly. Or, and this is where, you know, professional game devs would go, is using inverse kinematics, the IK.
Yeah.
Because what you can do is you can dynamically set, I want the IK of the Gundam's left hand to be the Zaku's right hand because that's the hand that it's going to use to throw them over. So the same way that you would use IK to place Link's hand on the wall, you could place the Gundam's hand on the Zaku.
Yeah.
Um, that is much more complex than we're going to get into tonight. So we
I
are going
bet.
to stick to just trying to dial in those numbers a little bit more. Um, so let's see if we want to get to like this spot right here. So the rotation is kind of spot on because the Zaku faces the Gundam, and this is where we're going to use some of like Unity's frame by frame tools, right? So if we go frame by frame, the Gundam is going to run up. Look at that goofy pose that he's got going on here. Is this like a kick that he does here? Okay.
Yeah,
So the
that's
Zaku steps back. All right. So already I can see that there's a little bit of a distance issue because the Zaku should already be on him. So, like, the Zaku should be, like, here, right? Or even like this,
Yeah.
because the Gundam is basically holding his wrist.
Yep. Trying to go under him, lift him up.
Yeah, and, like, over the back. So so this is how the animation should look, is over the back, little hip toss action. The Zaku lands in front of the Gundam. Let's pan around here for the little drop kick and see if it lands where we want it to land. Comes
And
up.
oh,
Boom!
bam.
Oh, just brutal.
Wow.
This really is, like you said, it's exactly like a wrestling
Mm,
game.
dude, that would be fun. Think of a Gundam fighting game where it's not all fast paced. It's like slow and physics based. That would be pretty fun.
Well, and you know what? This is like a perfect, um, again, I think that people take for granted like how the throws and the grapples work in a game like GBO2, where,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, like those animations are set exactly the way that this is, where it's like even if you're not necessarily facing the enemy, even if you're kind of like cocked to the side and you go in with a beam saber and they hit you with the grapple, I'm sure this has happened to you like 100 times where it's like,
Yep.
oh, yep, you all of a sudden you snap into place and they body slam you. It's like I wasn't
Yep.
even freaking close to you. Like I was hitting you in the back. Like,
And it's funny how often that it will, like, if you do the counters, it cuts to a different angled animation, almost hiding that.
yeah, which I guarantee you that they do that. They do that in order to hide the fact that they don't have, like, a lerp between the rotation, like, it just immediately happens, like, that you teleport.
Right.
So I think that what we need to do is in our little settings here, we wanna move the X value closer. So I'm thinking, like, maybe point ooh, no, I don't wanna remove that. Um, again, I keep doing that thing where hit the wrong keyboard. Let's do like we're gonna reduce the offset here. So instead of it being point 0.9 away, it's gonna be point 0.2, and instead of point 0.7 on the x-axis or point 0.9, it's gonna be point 0.7. I don't know. These are things that we just kind of like have to feel them out,
Yeah.
test them out. Um,
Reminds me of what I'm doing in Photoshop a lot.
yeah,
Just random numbers.
that's pretty much it, man. That's like
It's random, it's guessing just like an AI. Oh.
okay. So, oh, I should have hit pause instead of stop. So
Huh.
it's a little bit closer. I think that maybe we need to reduce that. We'll reduce that X value maybe to 0. Heck, let's try it at 0 and see how it does. The Z value, I think, might actually be spot on now. So let's try this. And I won't bore you guys with staying on here all night, like while we're dialing in values. All I'm trying to illustrate here the is just how involved this process is for something that is so trivial. I mean, we're
Right.
talking about something that's like probably 2 seconds of any game that you play, but
Well, it goes back to what you were saying, I think, about things that we take for granted, that are added into these games.
okay, so I think that this is right here. Let's see if again, we've got the body slam, and then If the kick comes down in the right spot, then I think that this is correct. Uh,
Yeah.
Axe kick to the groin.
I mean, that looks
I think that
like
that
it.
might be it. Let's just play it in full speed and see how it looks. Grabs the Zaku, flips him over, stomp, and then he's gonna run in place because,
That's funny.
Oh, man. This is fun. I like
It is because I feel like if not even to make video games, you could change the camera angles and just have like a quick 5-second of this animation, then 5-second of another at a different camera angle. This would just be a fun way to make little shorts. Um,
Yeah, in fact, there's,
animated.
I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it, but we'll try. Let's see. Um, let's try Cinemachine. Can we install Cinemachine and get something going in less than 2 minutes?
Okay.
Alright. So Cinemachine is obviously proprietary, it's a proprietary software within Unity, but what's cool about it is it allows you to do exactly what you're talking about. You can have
That's cool.
dolly track cameras, you can have cameras that swap from one angle to another. Um, so
It almost feels like this is how red versus blue could have been made, even though they probably just used Xboxes and probably cropped the UI.
something like that for sure. Which I mean, man, what a crazy time to have been in like the early 2000s of like machinima.
I know. I know. That was awesome stuff.
Um, so let's do a state-driven camera. I don't know if this is gonna work, but we're gonna try it. So state-driven camera. We want to let's follow the Gundam and we'll look at the Zaku. I don't know. I don't know. Well, this is gonna be is an interesting. So then we're gonna use the animator of the Gundam. And when the animator is in locomotion, we want to use virtual camera. And when the animator is in throw, we want to have a second camera. So what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that camera. So copy, paste, virtual. We'll do throw camera. I don't know. Um, oh, I did it again, man.
Oh,
I really need to
you know
just
what?
get a
I
single
have
computer.
to get going.
Oh,
I forgot. Gotta go
well,
pick up my daughter. But
uh-oh. Sorry. Well, tell you
no,
what,
no,
we
it's
can
okay.
pick this up next week.
Yeah,
But yeah, thank you so much for hanging out and for working on this with me.
oh yeah,
Thank you guys
no
for hanging
problem.
out and chatting with us while we do a little bit of amateur game dev. But we will catch up with you next week and of course tomorrow on the Gundam Explained show.
That's right.
Adam, am I forgetting anything?
No, that's about it. Yeah, see you guys tomorrow.
All right, cheers. See you
All
guys.
right.